So this video is a little different on a different day than I usually upload, but I think it's important that I talk about it. And this video is to honor the life of Charlie Kirk. I've never met this man, but he passed away today, and I feel a lot of heaviness. I just want to talk about how Jesus is coming back soon, and this is just proof of it. I'm not a prophet. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna finish December 31st, 2025. None of that. Nobody knows the day that Jesus is coming back. But I do believe that we are in the end times, and this is not to scare you. I hope at the end of this video that there could be some kind of encouragement. Yeah, I was actually going to make a version of this video next week. I had already pre-filmed my video that's supposed to be uploaded on Friday, which I'm going to change for next week, but it was talking about this. It was talking about how Jesus is coming soon, and the reason that I wanted to talk about that was because I was frustrated at my job because I was working with rude students, as I always do, and the kids of today are just very disobedient and disrespectful, and they fear no consequence. And I was reading in Timothy, which I'm gonna read for you now. In 2 Timothy 3 verses 1 through 4, it says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heavy, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God." I was specifically focusing on the part of the children being disobedient to their parents. Just in general, you see everywhere in the world, people are not loving. I'm not sure in which part it talks about people's love growing cold. I just want to talk about it today because Charlie Kirk was shot, and I don't recommend watching the video because it's very disturbing, it's very graphic, it's very sad. I literally feel so sad for his wife, for his kids, but I more want to focus and highlight on what an impact Charlie Kirk made in the youth of America. If you don't know, he has an organization, I'm not sure the name, I think it's Youth for America, I think that's what it's called, but it's just encouraging conservative youth to be leaders. And something that I admired about him was his boldness for Jesus, and how he always backed up his political stances with his faith. And you can watch many of his videos, you will always see him talking about God and talking about Jesus. And something that I was thinking about on my drive home from work was just Charlie coming face to face with God, and just, how it says, my good and faithful servant. And Charlie was 31 years old, and I think it just shows, even though he lived a short life, just how impactful it was. And he did live for the Lord. I obviously, again, I've never met this guy, but if you listen to anything he has to say, you will know how bold he is for Christ. And I think that's something so admirable and so rare these days. And I think it's a reason why he's no longer with us. It's because of how open and how proud he was of his faith. And I just wanted to read some Bible verses. When I heard the news, I was at work, and so the internet was not the best, so I couldn't get the full story, the full information, but I was just reading Bible verses on persecution. And this is a tragedy, but it's biblical, and it says in the Bible that we will be persecuted for Christ, and I think this is just evidence of that. And so I'm going to read some Bible verses about that. In Matthew 5:10, it says, "Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 5:11, It says, "Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake." And then verse 12, "Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you." And then 2 Timothy 3:12, it says, "Yea, and all that will live godly in Christ shall suffer persecution." So that is a promise. If you are living a godly life, you will be persecuted. Romans 12:14, "Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not." A few more verses. 1 Peter 4:12-14, "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye. For the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. In their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified." 2 Corinthians 4:8, "We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair." And then the last verse, 2 Corinthians 4:9, "Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed." Again, this is a tragedy. This is something really sad. I just think the life that he lived, the example that he left, can just be such a role model for us. Younger people, I think his birthday was next month, and so he would have been 32. That's 7 years older than I am. And I can't even imagine, honestly, being the type of bull that he was, and just him never being afraid to speak up for what he believed was right according to the Bible, even if everyone around him disagreed and thought differently or made fun of him. He just didn't care, because he just wanted to live for the Lord, and he lived for the audience of one, and he lived to glorify God. And I think, again, despite this horrible thing that has happened, I think this will turn a lot of people to Christ, because it's just showing the amount of hatred that there is out there, the amount of evil. I just can't imagine. Like, I disagree with a lot of things that the left has to say, and a lot of things that they say upset me. But to take it to the point where you kill someone for thinking differently than you is just pure evil from the devil. Literally pure evil. And I keep thinking about it, and I can't even process or believe. My heart feels so heavy, but at the same time, I think it's such a good example. His life was such a good example. He was such a good example of what a true Christian should be. I personally learned a lot from him, politically, but also in the way that he carried himself, his faith. And yeah, it's a big loss, and I think there's not much more that I can say besides we should be praying for his family a lot right now. Just pray that, I think it's in Genesis where Joseph, he's talking to his brothers at the end. I think it's the last chapter, and he just says, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Whoever did this obviously meant it for evil, and only God knows why he allowed it to succeed. But all I can say is, he lived a meaningful, important life, and he made a big difference in a lot of people's lives. There will be a difference without him in this world, and I hope it inspires a lot of people to be bold like he was and just live for God. That's all I can say. I hope this video encourages you to remember, at the end of your life, you will come face to face with God, and what kind of life will you have been able to say that you lived? Not to be cliche, but he's in the best place he could be right now. He definitely used his time for good here on earth, and I think that's very admirable, something to learn and apply. I hope you have a good day.